Hash, the voice that carried hope. The stage lights of America's Got Talent dimmed to a soft glow as the audience settled into their seats. It was a warm evening in Los Angeles, and the air inside the theater buzzed with anticipation. Families sat together, holding hands, waiting to see what dreams would unfold before them tonight. Behind the thick red curtains, a young boy stood alone. His name was Miguel Santos, and he was 13 years old. He wore a simple white shirt that his aunt had carefully ironed that morning, and black pants that were slightly too long for him. In his hands, he clutched a small photograph, its edges worn from being held so many times. Miguel took a deep breath. He could hear the muffled sounds of the audience beyond the curtain. He could feel his heart beating fast in his chest, like a drum that would not slow down. But he was not nervous about singing. He had sung 1,000 times before, in a place that now felt like a distant memory. No, what made his heart race was something else entirely. It was the weight of the story he carried, and the people he carried it for. The curtains began to part slowly, and Miguel walked forward into the light. From his seat at the judge's table, Simon Cowell leaned forward slightly. Beside him, Heidi Klum smiled warmly. Howie Mandel adjusted his glasses, and Sofia Vergara clasped her hands together, ready to listen. They had seen thousands of performers over the years, but there was something about this small boy walking alone onto that vast stage that made them all pay attention. "Hello," Miguel said into the microphone, his voice soft but steady. His Filipino accent colored each word with a gentle musicality. "Hi there," Simon said, his voice kind. "What's your name, and where are you from?" "My name is Miguel Santos," the boy replied. "I am from Manila, in the Philippines. But now I live in New Jersey with my aunt." "And how old are you, Miguel?" Heidi asked, her smile encouraging. "I am 13 years old," Miguel said. "What are you going to do for us today?" Sofia asked gently. Miguel looked down at the photograph in his hands. For a moment, he said nothing. The audience waited in silence. When he looked up again, his dark eyes were glistening, but his voice remained steady. "I am going to sing," he said. "I am going to sing for my family." Simon tilted his head slightly. "Tell us about your family, Miguel." The boy took another deep breath. This was the hard part. This was the part that still felt like a nightmare he could not wake up from. 3 years ago, Miguel began, the world changed. The sickness came. COVID-19. In the Philippines, it was very bad. The hospitals were full. People could not see their doctors. Everyone was afraid. He paused, and the theater seemed to grow even quieter. "My father was a jeepney driver," Miguel continued, his voice growing softer. "Do you know what that is? It is like a small bus, very colorful. He drove people to work, to school, to the market. He was always singing while he drove. He taught me every song he knew." Miguel's fingers tightened around the photograph. "My mother was a teacher. She taught young children how to read and write. She had a beautiful voice too. At night, she would sing to me and my little sister before we went to sleep. My sister's name was Rosa. She was only 7 years old. She loved to dance. She would dance in our small living room, spinning and spinning until she was dizzy." A few people in the audience were already reaching for tissues. When the sickness came, Miguel said, his voice beginning to shake, "My father got sick first. He had a fever that would not go down. Then my mother got sick. Then Rosa. I got sick too, but only a little bit. I do not know why. I do not know why I was different." Simon's expression had changed. The usual sternness in his face had melted away. "The hospitals had no more room," Miguel continued. "We stayed home. We tried to help each other. But the sickness was too strong. My father died first. Then, 2 days later, my mother. Then, a week after that, my little sister Rosa." Heidi's hand moved to cover her mouth. Sofia's eyes filled with tears. "I was alone," Miguel whispered. "I was 11 years old, and I was alone in our house with no one left. My aunt, my mother's sister, she lived in America. She came back to the Philippines as soon as she could. She brought me here, to New Jersey, to live with her. She saved me." The boy looked down at the photograph in his hands one more time, then held it up for the cameras to see. It showed a family of 4, smiling in front of a bright jeepney decorated with stars and flowers. A man with kind eyes and a wide smile. A woman with her arm around a little girl who was mid-laugh. And a boy, younger than the Miguel who stood on stage now, standing between them all. "This is them," Miguel said simply. "This is my family." For a long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. Then Howie spoke, his voice gentle. "Miguel, that is an incredibly brave story to share. Thank you for trusting us with it. Why did you come here today? Why America's Got Talent?" Miguel looked at the judges, then out at the audience. Hundreds of faces looked back at him, and he could see that many of them were crying. "Before she died," Miguel said, "my mother made me promise something. She could barely speak, but she held my hand and she whispered to me. She said, 'Keep singing, Miguel. No matter what happens, keep singing. Your voice is a gift. Share it with the world. Let it carry love wherever you go.'" His voice broke slightly, but he pushed forward. "I promised her I would. So I sing for them. I sing so their memory does not disappear. I sing because it is the only way I can still feel close to them. When I sing the songs my father taught me, I hear his voice again. When I sing the lullabies my mother sang, I feel her arms around me. When I sing the happy songs Rosa loved, I see her dancing." Simon nodded slowly. "What will you sing for us tonight?" "I will sing a Filipino song," Miguel said. "It is called Bukas Palad, which means open hands. It is about giving everything you have to the people you love. It is about sacrifice. It is about hope." "Whenever you're ready," Simon said softly. The music began to play, soft and gentle. Miguel closed his eyes. He thought of his father's jeepney, painted with flowers and saints, rumbling down the dusty roads of Manila. He thought of his mother's classroom, full of children's laughter and the smell of chalk. He thought of Rosa, spinning in circles until she collapsed in giggles on the floor. And then he began to sing. His voice rose from somewhere deep inside him, clear and pure and achingly beautiful. He sang in Tagalog, his native language, and though most of the audience could not understand the words, they understood everything. They understood loss. They understood love. They understood the sound of a heart that had been broken but refused to stop beating. As Miguel sang, something extraordinary happened. People in the audience began to hold each other. Strangers reached for the hands of strangers. Parents held their children closer. The judges sat perfectly still, transfixed. Sophia openly wept. Heidi pressed her hands together as if in prayer. Howie's eyes were closed, listening with his whole being. Simon, known for his tough exterior, wiped at his eyes with the back of his hand. The song built and swelled, Miguel's voice growing stronger with each phrase. He was not just singing for himself anymore. He was singing for every person who had lost someone to the pandemic. For every empty chair at every dinner table. For every goodbye that came too soon. For every dream that was cut short. When the final note faded into silence, no one moved. No one breathed. Then the theater erupted. The audience rose to their feet as one, clapping and crying and calling out to the small boy on the big stage. The judges stood too, all four of them, their hands coming together in applause that seemed to shake the very walls. Sophia pressed the golden buzzer without hesitation. Golden confetti exploded from the ceiling, raining down on Miguel like a shower of tiny stars. The boy looked up in wonder, his face lit by the falling gold, and for the first time that evening, he smiled. It was a small smile, fragile as glass, but it was real. His aunt rushed onto the stage from the wings, gathering him into her arms. She held him tight, and he held her back, still clutching the photograph of his family against his chest. "They would be so proud of you," she whispered into his hair. So proud." Simon approached them, his expression softer than anyone had ever seen it. "Miguel," he said, "what you just did was not just a performance. It was something sacred. You kept your promise to your mother. You shared your gift with the world. And in doing so, you've reminded all of us what really matters." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Your family is not gone," Simon continued. "Not really. They live in your voice. They live in your courage. They live in every life you touch with your music. That is a powerful kind of immortality." Miguel nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. As the cameras continued to roll and the audience continued to cheer, Miguel looked down at the photograph one last time. His father's smile. His mother's gentle eyes. Rosa's joy-filled expression. He pressed his lips to the photo gently, then tucked it carefully into his shirt pocket, right over his heart. The lights on the stage seemed to glow warmer. The golden confetti settled like blessings. And somewhere, in a place beyond words and beyond pain, A family smiled and sang along with the boy they loved, the boy who had kept his promise, the boy whose voice carried their memory forward into the light. Miguel had lost everything. But in his music, in his courage, in his refusal to let love die, he had found a way to carry them all with him. And that, in the end, was everything.